Hey everybody! All right, week 5. We finally got our first exam. If you're watching this before you take the exam, hopefully you're doing that. I know it can be intimidating the first time, especially like in an online class when you don't know how the test is going to go. So it's multiple choice. You can read through all this, about 65 questions. I know that sounds like a lot, but I had another class that had a test that was similar, like it was about the same length. Most students are finishing that in 20 minutes, I would say, is the average, probably a little less than that. So don't feel like you're going to be like crunched for time. You got a minute per question. That's plenty of time. If you have studied and you know the material, that's going to be way more than enough time. All right, so don't let that stress you out. Just take a deep breath. It's just like a regular test. It just happens to be online. Pay attention, seriously. I know I keep stressing this, and I promise I don't like it any more than you do, but pay attention to the environment video instructions and the additional instructions and all of that, because that, I know I've said this before, that is where we have the most issues, like as far as students not getting credit for the exams, is you're not following those instructions. So that's fine. You can say that I'm being ridiculous about it and stressing. I'll take that. That's okay. But it makes it a lot easier on me, honestly, and then I want to make sure that you're getting credit. If you really studied and you really did the work, you should get credit for it. I don't want it to be a misunderstanding. All right, so just take some time when you're doing that environment video, and remember, you'll get to review it and click OK. If your video doesn't show everything you were supposed to, you'll get a chance to retake it. So just don't rush through that. Pay attention and take your time on that. All right, so that's going to be Monday and Tuesday, so we'll get that out of the way early in the week. If take all the time you need. Like if you want to wait until Tuesday afternoon, that's perfectly fine. But if you feel ready, if you want to go ahead and take it on Monday, that way I can review it a little bit quicker and I'll get your grade finalized. But also that way, if you run into any issues or like technical problems, I'll have plenty of time to get that sorted out before the test goes off. All right. After you have taken the test, we've got one chapter worth of lectures, excuse me, to watch. Is the chapter 3 organic chemistry. I know you just had a chapter on chemistry. Organic chemistry is a little different. This is talking about the molecules that are found inside our body. So that's going to be things like carbohydrates and proteins and lipids, which are like fats and oils. If you've ever taken any nutrition classes, or if you just keep up with like the nutrition in your food, a lot of that is going to sound familiar because that's the things that we eat. The reason we need those is because our body uses those molecules to function and to make new cells too. So that's what we'll cover in chapter 3. You have a review quiz, which is due on the 20th. So just like the other ones, 5 questions, 5 points total. I know those don't seem like big assignments, but if you'll do them every single semester, every single week that we have them, that really does add up. That can make a big difference in your final grade. It can also hurt your grade if you skip a bunch of those. So make sure you do that by Sunday. We have a discussion board. I think I mentioned this earlier. But the discussion board is an assignment. It's a little different. You've got this one you have a video that you're going to watch, just a quick, I think it's like 20 or so minute video about biodiversity. That's something we talked about back in chapter 1. So once you have watched that video, you are going to go to the discussion board. That's where the video link is to. Go over to the discussion board tab. Watch the video, and then you are going to leave one post yourself, which was like a summary of what the video is about, or you can tell me something interesting that you found about the video, or just like say how it related to something we talked about in class. Just we're having a discussion as a class. Leave one post yourself, and then you need to find one other student and reply to their post. All right, so 10 points, really easy assignment. It makes a difference in your grade, and it's a good chance for us to kind of interact as best we can in an online class. So that's due Sunday as well. And then finally, lab 2, you've got your second lab assignment, is on biological macromolecules. That's what we talked about in the chapter 3 lecture. So make sure you watch that chapter 3 lecture first. And in this lab, you're going to be testing different substances to see if they have certain types of carbohydrates or lipids or things like that. All right. Now this lab is different. Your first one was really just kind of you had to do some calculations, but you were basically typing stuff in on the computer, and that was it. This one is an actual hands-on lab where you're going to be mixing chemicals and like looking for color changes and things like that. So give yourself a lot more time than you did last week. It says that there's an estimated 3 hours that it takes to do this lab. Hopefully it won't take you that long, but since this is your first hands-on lab, I would give yourself even longer than that. Like set aside 4 or so hours when you know that you're going to be able to do this. And if you get done earlier than that, that's great. That's awesome. But you don't want to rush. Like, you don't want to start at 10 p.m. on Sunday and then realize that you're not going to finish before the due date. All right. Again, just like the test, if you'll do it early in the week, that'll give me enough time to help you out if you run into any issues, if you have any problems. All right. Last thing, you've got like a list of things that you need to provide for this lab. So back when we did the lab intro video, and this over in the labs tab, if you go to the top, there's a video that walks you through this. It told you that there's a list. If you go down to the bottom of the lab tab, there's a list for all of our labs, and it's got like a shopping list of the things you're going to need to provide to do the labs. So print that off if you want to, and like have it with you so you know, all right, next week I need milk and potatoes, and the week after that I need, spinach, whatever. If you'll have that list, that won't be an issue. What you need this week, though, a lot of this should be pretty straightforward. You may have it at home. So like distilled water, you're going to use distilled water a few times in this semester. So what I would do is go to the grocery store. You can buy a gallon of it for like $1, and that'll last you. That'll be way more than you need all lab or all semester. You're going to need an egg. I'm just looking over things that you might need to actually go out and buy. So an egg, paper towel rolls, dish soap. 2% milk. If you've got a different type, 2% works best, and you can just buy like a small container just because I think this is the only lab you're going to need that. But 2% milk works best. A russet potato, just like a baking potato, and everything else you should have. So like a Sharpie or some type of a marker, plastic spoon, fork, oven mitt, things like that. Just look over. If there's something you don't have, just make a shopping list, and whenever you get a chance, hopefully you can plan out ahead of time so you don't have to make an extra trip to the store. But just make sure you have all that because you're going to need that for this lab. All right? So that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, as soon as you're done with the test, if you've got any questions about that, I'll talk more about it next week, about like changes you can make to studying if you didn't do as good as you wanted to and all that. But if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out and send me a message, and I can get back with you. All right. Thanks.